From the Fairfield Inn in where am I? Vineland, New Jersey. Welcome to the round one playoff recap here. I'm your host, Robert Evans Wright III. We had quite an epic round one of the wildcard matchups. We had our first ever tie in a playoff matchup. I'm gonna first of all just elaborate on that because that was quite epic. Max and Mike tied 98.4 to 98.4 in round one of the playoffs. Of all times, that have our first friggin' tie of the year. And typically, I'll be honest, I thought Max was going to win easily come on Monday night. Or was it? Was it Sunday night or Monday Night Football? Whatever it was. When Monday Night Football, whenever Odell Beckham Jr. went off. And next thing you know, the score was just getting closer and closer, and literally came down to the last catch of the game before Eli Manning took the knee, where Odell Beckham Jr. got enough points to tie Max. And I went to bed thinking 98.4, Mike's going to win because he's the top point getter. Or he had the most points during the regular season, which was the tiebreaker. I wake up and I get text from Mike. Saying, just laughing about it. Next thing you know, he says they gave the win to Max, and at first I'll be honest, I didn't even check because I had assumed ESPN was gonna give the win to Mike, and so I had to first examine the rules and see what the tiebreaker was. The tiebreaker, according to ESPN, was most points during a regular season. I don't know what the hell ESPN did, and if someone knows, please, by all means, send me a text because the odds of this ever happening again are quite slim. But I got some feedback from both owners. We'll hear from Max first after the heartbreaking loss. I don't know how much more of a heartbreaker you can get in a playoff game. Quote unquote from Max, it was a devastating loss. I'm going to take this off season to regroup and use it as motivation for next year. I think Michael and I are developing a little bit of a rivalry. Well spoken, Max. We'll see you next season. Great competitor. And I'm sure you'll be back in the playoff picture come next year. Whereas Mike went all Tim Tebow with his quote on just a recap of the game this past week. Claimed he stated, first off, believe the chances of myself and Max tying are pretty incredible. That needed to be said. However, I feel I was deserving to move on given my regular season success, and I know justice was served. You're welcome, asshole. I mean, what? I am going to lose this week. Yeah, you will. In part because my quarterback is a nobody. You had a ginger as your quarterback, so I really don't. Anyways, he said, God bless, and God bless the United States of America, and Merry Christmas. So thanks to Mike Tim Tebow Madden on strong words there. And he also wants to thank Odell Beckham Jr., which that's a great person to thank because he literally carried you on Monday Night Football. So congrats to Mike on having one of the luckiest wins. Rumor has it that he got an extra point because the tiebreaker was who Steve Overly wanted to win. And I think we know how that outcome's going to be. Yeah. But anyways, Mike got the upper hand by technically a score 99.4 to 98.4. We'll examine the next matchup here. It was Casey versus George. You guys all saw the playoff previews. Casey, he looked scared out of his mind. He couldn't quit complimenting me, which he probably should do more often when it comes to this league because this league has improved so much. So thank you, Casey, for the nice words. George, he had quite the video with just firing shots literally at Casey's at a target of Casey, and I think the video did justice because George got the upper hand by a score of 132.9 to 122.5. George is in familiar territory. I mean, he's a veteran in this league. He's wanted to pass. He's usually good for at least making it this far in the playoffs. You look at his lineup he put together here. Really, everyone, just for the most part, minus the Devontae Parker, everyone was in double figures, which is going to get the win. Whereas Casey didn't get a strong effort from Deshaun Jackson. And Tyler Eifert went down with concussion. So congrats to George. He's in the semifinals once again. You can make an argument he could have had a bye, but unfortunately for him, the bye didn't really matter. Got to embarrass Casey one more time, and justice was served. So We're gonna get Jared Cunning on the phone here. Jared, he had a bye. I'll be pretty blunt. I feel like the best two teams got the bye. He is one of the most wild owners where he will have a new lineup every single week and still gets the job done. So we'll get Jared on the phone here and see what he thinks about his matchup here with his with George.
Hello?
Hello, Jared.
How's it going, Robbie?
It's going excellent, man. First off, congratulations on clinching a bye.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty. I wasn't happy with all the losses towards the end of the year, but getting the first round bye was a nice consolation prize.
Absolutely, it's a nice consolation prize. So take me through your lineup currently, because I'll be honest, I never know who the hell you have. And first, we'll analyze your team, and then we'll talk about your matchup here and what you think will be the outcome against George.
Well, my wide receiver and tight end core, I think, kind of speaks for itself there.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
You got Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Green, Greg Olsen. They've been so steady. But you look at the rest of the players. I mean, your quarterback's name's Tyrod. Does that scare you at all?
I mean, you could argue that the top of my lineup's complete trash. And I feel like I wouldn't argue it at all. I'm just hoping this week that Spencer Ware from the Chiefs decides not to play so that West will be able to get the workload there. And then I'm kind of throwing a Hail Mary with Tyrod and Tim Hightower.
Are you nervous at all having Broncos D this week with the Steelers?
I'm not excited about it. I was actually contemplating starting Tampa Bay's defense.
I like that move.
Against them, but I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on that.
Well, time is limited here. We got the Thursday night matchup here, and we're gonna. This is where the real money is now. I mean, the winner of my game and your game is guaranteed the profit this season. So, best of luck with your matchup coming up here. Now, take me through. I guess you and George, you guys always seem to meet. If it's typically in the playoffs. Take me through your chance. Do you think you're gonna win? What do you think your chances are?
I don't know. I sent a little couple shots fired going into my game against George. What was it, 2 weeks ago? And it didn't pan out at all the way I planned. It seems like every time I go into a matchup with George, he loses a running back, and then it doesn't seem to phase his team at all. He always ends up putting in some garbage wide receiver that has a good game. So, I mean, I have nothing but respect for George at this point. He's beaten me twice this year. He seems to make the right moves at the right time. So
you look at his lineup here. This is not a common move. But you got Gary Barnidge in the flex position, the tight end out of Cleveland. I mean, he sees something.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting 2 tight ends. He's starting a free agent wide receiver with Lockett that he picked up this week, and Bilal Powell because of Jonathan Stewart being out. But seems like my luck against George, anything could happen. So I'm definitely not looking past this week at all.
Absolutely. So, who do you want to? If you do win, who would you want to play? Me or Mike?
If I was going strictly off of lineups, I would prefer to face Mike. But given that you and me played each other week 1 and it was an extremely tight matchup, and your team's been on such a hot streak, I feel like I would feel better personally playing you at the end of the year.
Well, that's deep, Jared. Well, Jared, thank you for tuning in.
Hey, who would you rather play?
I mean, honestly, I would probably see. This is tough because you both have 2 teams both your teams are so even. I would say.
Yeah.
Like there's really whereas me and Mike, I feel like there's a little bit more of a difference. Whereas you and George, I mean, you both have your strengths, you both have your weaknesses. Honestly, if I had to, I probably would. It really depends on Gronk, to be honest. I mean, if Gronk shows up, I don't want to play George. Whereas if he does, I want to play you because I feel like the type. But and you have Greg Olson, so I mean, it's a toss up right there. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it would. George would have the benefit too if Edelman might come back in that championship week. That might take away a little bit of receptions for Gronk, which might help you actually. But
right.
Yeah, I think me and his teams are pretty even.
What do you think of the videos of the 4 wildcard nerds?
I literally laughed out loud. I thought George's was hilarious because that was literally shots fired.
Yeah.
And I thought the little parody for Casey's was quite enjoyable.
I mean, I that was actually Casey. Like he got dressed up in his EF basketball jersey, get ready to go shoot hoops with RJ Danko. He was ready.
Oh God. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really get Mike and whatever that other kid's name was because I don't shoot the puck around. So
right, yeah. Well, I'll fill you in real quick. Back in 10 years ago, me and Mike, we were on the same hockey team. We played Max, and Max got his wrist broken in 2 places by that kid. And Mike reached out to that kid to make the video.
Well, then that takes a lot of thinking, so I would applaud that too then.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the 2 people who had the better videos won. Maybe we'll do something similar like that with the championship. So, Jared, best of luck this week. Thanks for tuning in, and maybe we'll have you next week.
All right, I look forward to it if it ends up being me.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Jared, for tuning in the podcast. He hasn't been on in a while. He was going through that little streak where he was a top point getter every time. But I'll be straight up with you guys. I have a $50 dinner waiting for me here, and I don't want to keep this any longer. So I'm tossed up between Red Lobster and Texas Roadhouse. They're both within a mile away from here. So maybe Red Lobster. If you're gonna be a king, you gotta eat like a king. So that concludes the Round 1 podcast here. Best of luck to myself, Mike, George, and Jared in the semifinals here. We'll know who's money bound here very shortly. So best of luck, guys, and see you guys next week.